Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of council. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Not. Then we will move on to the approval of the council minutes. Looking for a mover and seconder for the special council meeting held January 29th. Two eager beavers over there, Councillor Dunn and Councillor Hammond. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Carried. And then looking for a mover and seconder for the council meeting held January 29th. Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Dunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And carried. Is there any business arising out of those minutes? Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this is the time or not, and I'm not exactly sure how we should go about this, but the salary review for a number of us last time kind of caught us by surprise, whether we were asleep at the wheel or not. And I would just like to give direction if that's what it needs to be, but the next time a salary review is proposed or planned, that the council of the day is made aware of it before we hire the consultant. I didn't see the writing or the words from the direction of the previous council, but I thought if the council of the day knows, it might be a little more of a heads up than what some of us felt that we had. I didn't know. And I apologize because I believe it was my mistake. So I would like that the next time a salary review is held, that the council of the day knows that it's ongoing.
Okay. Why would you have not known it was ongoing? We passed
I didn't
it.
know. No, it says in the documentation that was direction from the previous council.
Which would have been us.
Yes, but I didn't know it was ongoing last year. I would just like it so whoever happens to be on the council at that time, that they know that it's going on. And if it's a brand new council, they may know, but I just did not know, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
So if we could, if it needs to be direction, whatever it is, I do think that council needs to be apprised of it before it takes place.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Business arising? If not, then we'll move on to reports of staff and delegation. Looking at the first report regarding the purchase of various fleet vehicles. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and members of Council. This report is on the results of tenders received for various fleet vehicles and to request Council authorization to award the tender to the lowest qualifying bidders. So during the 2018 budget deliberations, some new fleet vehicles were approved for a few different departments. So for the Public Works, a small 1.5 ton dump truck and then 3 pickup trucks. And for PCC, it would be 1 pickup truck. All vehicles are replacements to the existing fleet, so none of them are new assets. Tenders were received on January 31st. After reviewing the tenders, we found 2 tenders were disqualified as they were incomplete and did not meet the specifications. Each qualifying low bid was below budget. So the recommendation is that the purchase of each vehicle from the low bidder as detailed in the report be approved. Thank you.
Question from council. Councillor Dunn.
Through you, Your Worship. Ken, I know you've probably explained this to me before, but when it comes to the criteria for replacing these vehicles, is it the mileage, the year, or is it the maintenance schedule? Like high maintenance costs? These are just something that would refresh my memory, if you will. Thank you.
Sure, through you, Mayor. Yeah, so basically there is a end of useful life, which is more of a target date. So for pickup trucks, for example, we have it set at about 10 years. So by then, it's kind of a combination of a number of those. So just as an example, so the one Public Works pickup truck number 15, it's a 2008, so it's around the 10-year mark for replacement. It currently has 210,000 kilometers on it, and we're spending about between $6,000 and $7,000 a year. Over 3 years, spread over 3 years, and it kind of ranges anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a year, just to keep it on the road. So it's kind of a combination of different things.
Councillor Hammond. Oh, I'm sorry. I had Councillor Verbicki.
The Mayor, thanks. I just want to it was in the past, and when we were purchasing vehicles, the color of these vehicles now are purple, green, yellow.
The vehicles purchasing now will be all white.
Councillor Hammond?
Your worship, thank you. Ken, what is our current policy with the disposal of the vehicles that we're getting rid of? Do we trade those, or do we auction those, or what do we do with those?
Through you, Mayor, the last couple of years we've been auctioning them. The auction is in the fall, and with all the seasonal and part-time staff that come on in May and June, we don't have enough pickup trucks, so we're chauffeuring, students and seasonals around in tandem dump trucks, and just to get them to job sites and stuff. So we've been keeping the few trucks that we're trading in, when we receive the new ones, we'll keep the old ones and use them for the students and stuff for the season, and then we auction them out in fall.
Councillor Wilkinson?
Ken, I'm just curious how much you plan to salvage off the old trucks, whether it be light bars, the accessories you talk about in here. Do you anticipate anything being able to be used from the old trucks?
Yeah, there's not a lot of, I guess, additional, like the pickup trucks that come in are fairly base. We add radios that currently have GPS, so we reuse those and move them to the new pickup trucks. Light racks, depending on the age of it and the condition and stuff like that, but we will keep stuff like that, light racks and the top ones as well. But again, it depends on the age. Like they've been, say for 10 years, they're can be pretty dented up and stuff like that. So there's really not a lot on these trucks so that we can kind of remove and, reuse. We might put them on another truck, say at town hall or something like that, move them over.
Councillor Berbicki? Support by the Deputy Mayor. Discussion on the motion? All in favor? Motion carries. Councillor?
Thank you. I wanted to, while Ken was still here, and I believe I speak for all of us when I want you to go back to the shop and say thank you to all of your staff for the job they've done on our roads. Normally we would bring that up under open session, but I want you to hear that while you're here. It's been a tough winter and they've done a great job. Thank you.
If I could just add, I do thank you for saying that, and I will bring that back. They always appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Next report up is one regarding the workplace violence and workplace harassment policy. Ms. Orton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The municipality has had a harassment policy since at least 1999. That policy related to the protection of individuals from discrimination, as well as from other behaviors that are offensive or threatening to the employee. The municipality also has a workplace violence policy, and that policy acknowledges the municipality's legislated role pursuant to the Occupational Health and Safety Act as an employer to ensure the safety and protection of its workers from violence in the workplace. Both policies contain procedures that are duplicated in the safe operating practices found within the municipality's health and safety program. Administration has taken the opportunity to combine these policies into one workplace violence and workplace harassment policy, and that is for ease of reference and to ensure clarity of definitions, programs, and procedures. The new policy indicates that the municipality will take all reasonable steps to protect workers from all sources of workplace violence and harassment, and to ensure that workers are treated with respect and dignity. And in an effort to foster that healthy, safe, and respectful workplace, the policy also includes as a schedule the principles for a respectful workplace. The policy is attached to this report, and if you can turn to the policy, I'll just take you through it briefly. You'll see there's a definitions section, and so within the policy and any safe operating practice and program, the definitions apply. So the definitions include that of bullying, workplace harassment, workplace sexual harassment, and workplace violence. And each definition also includes some examples to clarify what that definition actually means. The safe operating practice and program that implement the policy, They include measures to protect workers from workplace violence, workplace harassment, and bullying, and include the procedures for workers to report incidents and concerns. The policy sets out the duties of the employer, of managers and supervisors, and of workers. Duties of the employer are to ensure the policy and the safe operating practice and program are implemented, and to demonstrate a commitment to intolerance of workplace harassment, violence, or bullying of any kind, to investigate incidents and complaints related to workplace violence, harassment, and bullying in a fair and timely manner, respecting the privacy of those concerned, and taking corrective action as may be required. Also, the duties of the employer are to accept responsibility for the provisions of a comprehensive communications plan to workers regarding the implementation of the policy, the safe operating practice and program. Workers may also obtain further direction and information in connection with this policy through Human Resources Department, a union representative, or a member of any health and safety committee, or from their manager or supervisor. As I indicated, there is a schedule to the policy which set out 4 principles of a respectful workplace. Those 4 principles are that we value each other. Examples of how we value each other is that we offer constructive guidance to one another. We greet our coworkers. We get to know one another as a team. We acknowledge our coworkers' strengths and positive attributes in front of others. We practice active listening, meaning we concentrate on what is being said rather than just hearing the message and waiting for our turn to speak. The second principle is to treat people as we wish to be treated, and we do so by practicing empathy, practicing compassion, listening to each other, overcoming prejudices, stop criticizing, rising above retaliation, and being the change. If we want people to treat each other with more compassion and kindness, we know that starts with us. Conflict is addressed in a positive and respectful manner and in a healthy way. And the schedule indicates and provides examples of how to approach a disagreement with a coworker, providing concrete examples of how to do so. Finally, disrespectful behavior is addressed. Respectful behaviors show consideration, kindness, and appreciation, whereas disrespectful behaviors do the opposite. Gossiping is considered disrespectful workplace behavior. It involves the spreading of rumors or speaking malicious comments about coworkers or about an employer. It also provides examples of how we approach disrespectful behavior. If we think our behavior is disrespectful, we stop that behavior. We tell someone if his or her behavior is disrespectful and ask him or her to stop. If we see disrespectful behavior occurring, we trust our judgment and offer suggestions for more respectful behavior. The contents of the policy will be communicated to workers as well as being posted in the workplace and provided to each union. The safe operating practice and the program have been reviewed administratively. Education and training in connection with the policy, the practice, and program will be provided to employees by the Human Resources Department. Specific training will also be provided in connection with the principles of a respectful workplace. As that policy and the principles suggest practical examples that may change and may be developed over time, it would be advantageous for the manager of human resources to have the delegated power to amend the document at Schedule A only. Therefore, it is recommended that Council adopt the workplace violence and workplace harassment policy and repeal the harassment policy and the workplace violence policy, and delegate the power to amend Schedule A, being the principles of a respectful workplace, to the manager of human resources.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Council's wishes, or Councillor Hammond?
Yes, Your Honor, Your Worship, thank you. Either way. Ruth, with the trending times and the environment that we live in right now, I'm just wondering, moving down the road, do you think it'll be necessary to create a committee to hear these complaints. God forbid there isn't any, but can you see that happening? I mean, it would, similar to what we do with Committee of Adjustment, where you've got members who aren't employees of the town that would sit on the committee and do some of the investigation of these complaints.
The practice in the program identifies the CAO as the person who does the investigation and makes those determinations. We have outsourced some of the investigation to external legal counsel or a mediator, and that has worked well in the past. So that will be maintained until such time as we find we need something different. But external review is typically the best practice, and external review by someone who is skilled and practices in that area.
Mr. Neufeld?
And certainly any actions that come out of that investigation that might include discipline or retraining, that sort of stuff can't be left to a committee either. That is specifically an administrative duty. So it does get a little bit difficult. I can understand what you're talking about for an external investigation, but even with external investigations, there are specific training, investigative training that is required and has to be maintained. So I just thought I'd mention especially the outcomes are difficult for any committee to deal with.
Okay. Council's wishes. Moved by Councillor Hammond, support by Councillor Dunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Carried. We'll move on to matters for approval. We have the minutes of the Kingsville Leamington Joint Animal Control Committee meeting. Looking mover, seconder. Councillor Wilkinson, Councillor Verbicki. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Carried. And mover and seconder to receive the Leamington Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. Councillor Hammond and Deputy Mayor. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Carried. There were no other matters for consideration. Did you want to report on the closed session that we're not having yet? No? But we do have consideration of bylaws.
Bylaw 91-17 being a bylaw, Southdale's Drain New Maintenance Schedule of Assessment, third and final reading. Bylaw 10-18 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Municipality of Leamington at its meeting held February 12th, 2018.
Moved by Councillor Verbicki, support by Councillor Dunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Carried. No notices of motion were circulated, so we're into open session. Council members? Councillor Dunn?
Through your worship, I'd like to invite everybody out to another Giving Spoon. We're doing at the Bridge this coming weekend, 17th and 18th. We'll have 45 different soups between the 2 days. The Bridge is actually open from 9 to 8 every day. There's a lot of kids using it, and they still haven't quite got their charitable status, so this is another way to help fund and keep it rolling. It's a great facility. Come out and check it out, and it's all by donation. So if you know somebody needs, just come out and eat. If you can leave a donation, we pay it forward. So that's how it works. So please come on out and spread the word. As many soups as you want, and desserts, coffee, and buns. So please come enjoy us.
Sounds good. Councillor Hammond?
Your worship, thank you again. Yeah, just to go a little further to what Bill had added, we attended the Bridge on Thursday evening, and they had their dedication to the building, and it was very well done, and it's just going to be an exciting thing, and I'm really pleased that we're able to move that forward. Also, too, I want to mention that the final tally isn't exactly in from the hospital gala, but as to date, it's about $124,000 raised that evening, so
Very good.
congratulations to the committee there.
Real quick for me then, Thursday, I know I sent out an email out to all of you, but Thursday, our CAO, Mr. Neufeld, and I met with the new chief of the Caldwells and their CAO, for lack of a better title, and had a really, really excellent conversation with them. They're very much ready and willing to move ahead from where we left off from before the election of their chief. So a lot of positives coming. He's already sent one quick email on how we can work together, and So well, actually, it's really quite exciting. So some other time, maybe we can get into a little bit more on that. Saturday, February the 3rd, I had the distinct honor and pleasure of attending our CAO's house to present a 60th wedding anniversary certificate, not to them, but to actually Peter's in-laws. 60 years happily married, and it was really, really quite a nice event and pleasure to do so. On Monday, February the 5th, the CAO and I were up bright and early in the morning and in Windsor for an 8 o'clock breakfast at the St. Clair College in downtown Windsor, and we were updated on their current situation, what their pitfalls are, and what their vision forward was. And it was not to ask us for any kind of financial support. They've got some pretty far-reaching goals to hit. But just more or less to keep us in the loop as to what they're planning on doing, so that when we're talking with our potential investors, that we can say, well, this is what our college is doing and what they hope to have in the next few years. And let's see, Wednesday I had my TWEPI board meeting. I guess there are things that I can share with you afterwards on that as well, but just your typical stuff that they're going through. And then that evening, Councillor Verbicki's and my MIAC committee put on their first public event, and they had it at the Shirk Complex, or the Kinsman Complex, in the gymnasium, and it was in regard to mental health. They had a panel of 5 guest speakers up there and a moderator, and I don't know, what would you say, about 60 people in attendance? Okay, so it was, I thought it was really, really good. And you could tell that the young ladies on MIAC had worked really hard in organizing that whole thing. They had received sponsors. I don't think we've got a count on what kind of fundraising they did, but as soon as we do, we'll relay that to all of you as well. Statement of members non-debatable? If none, then I would like somebody to support the recommendation that council move into a special closed meeting of council pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended for the following reasons. The matters of consideration are confidential reports regarding outstanding claims and potential legal action and litigation in regard to waterfront lands and potential acquisition of waterfront lands. Moved by Councillor Hammond, support by Councillor Dunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor?